welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for coming in. I'm like really excited about this conversation. So tell me a little about yourself.
Well, that's a very difficult question.
It is very difficult. It's hard to know how to answer that. So why don't I break it down? What do you do?
Right now I work in carpentry.
Carpentry. Oh,
Yes.
like in Sarnia?
In Brigden.
Brigden. Oh,
Yeah.
But do you live in Sarnia?
Yep.
Oh, wow. So that's a little bit of a drive for you.
It's not too bad.
Yeah. Whereabouts do you do carpentry?
Right now I'm just working for a sole proprietor that builds barns, things
Oh,
like
wow.
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. So you're really working with wood.
Yeah.
Okay, because sometimes when I talk to carpenters, they're working with scaffolding.
Yeah,
so
no, this is real carpentry.
Oh, throwing out the shade. Okay. That's really funny. Nick's brother's a carpenter. But that's awesome. So how did you get into that?
It was honestly kind of I got, something happened, I got fired from my last job, and a buddy of mine was working on doing some welding out there, and brought me out there, and it was actually kind of a blessing in disguise, because the job that I was working, I was going in miserable every day.
Yeah.
It really wasn't going very well, and then I get fired. Buddy brings me out to do some welding. I meet another guy that's the main builder here, and get full-time employment through him. And now everything's going fantastic. I'm getting praise at work. Everything's, it's
Wow.
like, yeah, it was like I got pushed out of the wrong environment, got pushed into the right one.
But I feel like that's a very common thing. Like when something ends, a new beginning is happening. And I feel like the universe has a weird way, like whether you're spiritual or not, it just guiding you to like certain paths. That's awesome that like you kind of turned a negative into a positive.
Yeah, it's honestly been very stress relieving. Going from such a toxic environment to something as good as I have right now is pretty amazing.
Oh, for sure. I can definitely attest to that. That's kind of how I felt moving into this job at Rebound, because I work at Rebound, or if you didn't know that. And so for you, are you more of somebody like works with his hands then?
I've been into so many different things that it's actually my long-term goal is entrepreneurship. Because at one point I was a pastor. At one point I was
Whoa, wait, what?
yes.
A pastor? Are you still religious?
No.
Oh, okay, very interesting.
It was, when I was 17, I was baptized. I went like right into the church.
Wow.
Hardcore. When I was 22, I was ordained as a pastor. And then life events happened shortly after that made me switch my entire belief system out of that. And
Wow.
yeah.
That is a journey. That is like going from that, and then obviously was the pastor going into your next job that was a little more toxic?
No, there was a few other jobs in between there.
Yeah.
I was a programmer at one point. And then where I met Sam is I went to business school.
Nice.
And so a few steps along the way, but yeah.
Wow, so journey from being 22, being a pastor, and then now you're a carpenter. Would you say that you're thankful for that experience being a pastor?
Yes and no. There were a lot of manipulative people that were in the church, and I got taken advantage of quite a few different times. Just volunteered, expecting that. I volunteered at a homeless shelter for just under 2 years, and then in 2019, when the housing crisis first happened, I actually ended up going homeless, and a lot of those people that I had helped or volunteered for were not there to help when I was in that same situation.
Oh wow! So you've had quite a life. It's really, I'm like really impressed. I'm taken back just because that is so many life experiences at such a young age. 'Cause I'm assuming you're around the same age as me. I'm 27.
29. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So that's just wild.
Yeah.
So what made you, if you don't mind me asking, you could definitely tell me to fuck off if you need me to. But at 17, what made you feel that calling to get into religion? I don't know what religion it was, but I'm assuming
Just
something with
Christianity.
Yeah.
A long time ago, I was very depressed, living a different life, and I met a lot of people in the church that were living a life that I thought I wanted, and it looked like that was the path to get what I wanted, and I don't think it was.
Yeah, that's super fair. I feel like there's a lot of almost virtue signaling going on especially when you're younger, especially with like mission trips and like worldwide plans and global impact. And I find that like when you're young, it's like so idealized, and then once you get older, it's like, oh, actually, there's much more to this, and maybe I don't quite belong in there.
Yeah, and it was I was under a pastor at the time that he was going through a bit of an issue with drinking, gambling.
Wow.
He was going to strip clubs and was lying to everybody about it.
Jeez.
And
Strip clubs. Sorry,
yeah,
you really
and
threw me off with that.
so we had a bunch of money saved at one point for a church fund for us to actually get a building. So we were a church that was renting out space from other churches. And during this time when this gentleman went through a gambling problem, all of a sudden that money was no longer anywhere to be spoken for. So yeah, it was just, as much as I am thankful I went through some of these experiences, it was, I guess I've learned some real lessons about the real world, not this baloney that everybody likes to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially when you know that power actually has quite an influence. Because if you're someone with power and you have not good intentions, you will get away with it. And that's unfortunate. Obviously, I believe in like kind of divine justice, where it's like, you know what, the world will take care of you one day and you're not my problem. I believe in walking away from that. But at the same time, it's very frustrating, especially for you in that experience, to have to witness that, be a part of it, feel the repercussions, and then not being able to do anything about it.
Yeah, and it's even more frustrating because the person is still in good standing in this city, and it's like, do you go against the person and try to save other people from what could be happening? And or do you wash your hands?
I feel that so hard, because there's a small part of you, especially when you're younger, that you just want to like be a go-getter and like get justice, but then you have to kind of take a step back and say, like, am I the right person to serve this justice? Yeah, I have a hard time with that too, because I definitely am like a social justice kind of warrior kind of person. And I used to take to like Facebook comments and like go nuts on Instagram. And then I kind of took a step back and I was like, well, who is this really for?
Yeah.
And is this the justice that I am meant to serve? Or am I supposed to be the person that turns away so that they go silent, as opposed to giving them a voice or a platform to continue? It's difficult. It's a difficult balance.
It's very difficult. But yeah, I've made the decision just to kind of walk away from it. And me and him don't really talk anymore. We kind of just go our separate ways, really don't acknowledge each other if we see each other in public, and I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I respect that. I probably would have made the same choice as you. So when you were saying that like the life you envisioned when you were younger, what does that include?
The biggest thing for me is I've always wanted to improve other people's lives. I've seen what it's like when you don't have people in your corner, and how hard it is to get the motivation to go do something, or to, like, if all of a sudden you're down on your luck, and it's not even that you have to do something wrong. It can just be that the situation that you're in right now wasn't lined up well for you. And if you're just down on your luck, I want to be able to help some of these people get out of that kind of thing. That's why I wanted to get into the church and that kind of thing. But quickly I realized that helping people isn't really what the church does. It's more about claiming they help people so that they can fill their own pockets.
And I've seen that with my own experiences. Like, I grew up Catholic, and so for me, I had a grandmother who was a fierce, like, strong person. So anytime the church did anything that was like maybe something that didn't align with her values, she would actually fight them. Like, she would fully, like, if they had donation signs on the altar or anything, she would go up during service and rip them down. And like, so for me, I had a very different upbringing, because I was surrounded by people who were constantly going against what the church wanted, because they recognized it as a system of power, but they loved their own beliefs. And so now, stepping out in the real world, kind of distancing myself from Catholicism, I'm like, wow, like, there are some corrupt people in the system, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's nuts, because when you're older, you're like, how can you do that? If you're saying you're going to help people, if you're saying you're there for people, then what's really going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a good decision that I made, just to kind of walk away from that. But I wish it didn't happen the way that it did, but I'm glad that I had the lessons that I got.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So when you say you want to help people, like, what do you want to help them with?
I want to help people through similar situations that I've been through. So, like, one thing that I'm hoping I can do in the future, like, I've always wanted to start a business so that I can fund a charity that feeds children that are going to school hungry.
That's a big one.
And I know that there's so many kids out there that it's not even that their parents are poor. It's just neglectful. And you show up to school without a lunch, and how are you supposed to educate yourself if you're not sustained if you don't have the sustenance you need to learn.
Absolutely.
So it kind of sets that kid up for failure for their entire life. Absolutely. And it not just that. I think having a prepared meal for you when you show up to school, it shows you that someone cares about you.
Yeah.
And if that's not your parents, then so be it. How about somebody else cares about you?
Yeah.
Sends you a little note in there or something. I don't know. But
absolutely.
I'd love to help in other ways as well, but that's been on my mind for a long time.
I really resonate with that because my father, I saw him every other weekend when I was younger, and he used to send me to school without lunch, like on the Monday morning. And I remember that feeling of walking into school and knowing that I had nothing. Like I didn't have anything to look forward to for like recess or lunch. And so like that little food basket that like is in the back of the classroom or whatever, honestly like saved my life on those Mondays. Yeah. Eventually, like it didn't last very long because my mom was like, no, I'm taking the kids back on Sunday night. But at the same time, like knowing that feeling and going through it and then noticing that somebody else can recognize that that's a huge thing, even if someone only goes through it like once in a while, it's still a big impact on your like well-being.
Yeah, it's something I'm very passionate about, something I really hope I can aspire to do one day.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that too, just because I know that like childhood trauma or experiences, however you want to say it, it is very difficult to share. And so like, thank you for saying that. And I'm like happy that like you're wanting to do something about it and you're not somebody who is choosing to stick with it and not play the victim. I kind of hate that phrase, but like in choosing to do action rather than sitting back and just watching.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's not something I've done yet, but it's something that I will hopefully do one day.
Yeah, but you're still like hella young, so you're fine. But just going back to that though, like, are you somebody who likes to take action all the time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What's like the latest thing you've like taken action on that like it could be personal, it could be professional, anything?
To be honest with you, it's rebuilding myself right now. 2 years ago, my ex took off and she left me without a car. She cleaned out the apartment, had nothing. And then, so I ended up going through I lost my dad shortly after that.
Wow.
And then, so I went through some mental health stuff, lost my job. That was when I was a programmer. So the last 2 years has just been focused on rebuilding myself. So now that I have a good job, I've just bought a car.
Well, congratulations. That's
thank
awesome.
you. So now that things are leveling out, this is literally in the last couple of months that things have finally just leveled out. Now it's, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
What can I start? Who can I help? Because and actually now that I'm here, I was looking at signing up for the Big Brother program.
Oh, you definitely should. I'm a big sister, and it's honestly one of my favorite things to do. Like, it's just such a fantastic thing to like just take time out of your week just to like mentor a kid and just enjoy. Awesome. Let them be a kid. You know what I mean? But that is so cool. So you're really resilient because it seems like you've had a lot of tests in a very short amount of time. Because like our 20s is like, I know people say like it's supposed to test you, it's supposed to be a little bit difficult. Your 30s are like the best thing that's ever gonna happen to you. I hear it all the time because I complain about it all the time. But for you, like looking back on these past like 10 years, do you feel like there has been so many tests for you, or do you feel like it's just life?
I feel, if I'm going to be totally honest with you, I feel like I've been through hell.
It honestly, like, not to sound rude, but it kind of sounds like it. Like, it sounds like you were really, like, in really dark places in very different parts of your 20s.
Yes, and that's why I really care about other kids that are going through some of this stuff. Like, I know that I have that resilience, and but with some of these crises going on with the mental health and the suicide crisis and the drug crisis, it's such a... I know what it takes to become that, especially a drug addict. Like there was a turning point in my life where someone was trying to get me involved in that kind of stuff. And to be honest with you, at the low time of my life, it was very, very, very tempting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know where that pivot point is. And if you can just help during that pivot point in someone's life, instead of them going down a really dark path, they can soar. Because the people that have gone through this stuff, they're very strong. They know, like, it's, yeah,
absolutely. I completely 100% agree. I feel like I've had a very, like, rocky roller coaster of a life as well. Like, Nick always looks at me, like, in just disbelief, because I'm like, I tell him his stories, and I'm like, yeah, this is normal. And it's like, oh, actually, things you've been through, maybe not. And so for me, like, I definitely resonate with what you just said. But just to like on a lighter note, what's your favorite Lunchable? You said Lunchable, and I was like, oh, I used to love Lunchables.
The pizza ones.
Oh, the pizza ones slap. Honestly, that was my favorite one too. Looking back on it though, I'm like, I don't know if those were like the best things to eat. I have no idea, like even like the crust of the pizza. I'm like, oh, okay, that's fun. But yeah, I just wanted to know. You said that, and I was like, a question that was burning in the back of my head because everyone always says pizza or I don't even know what the other one people really like.
The cheese and crackers one was really
cheese
good
and cracker
too.
one's really good. That one always slapped. Always slapped. But so outside of the, the struggling points, the turning points, especially like I love that you touched on addiction because it's not something to be ashamed of. Everybody can go there. For you, what do you do for self-care then to combat all of that?
A lot of it is journaling. I journal on right now is not as often, but I try to do daily. And then counseling is, of course, like it's so important.
Thing.
But I would say the most important thing above anything else is having something to be passionate about, whether it's for the time being, whether it's a video game, whether it's a project you're working on, whether it's whatever. It's just something that you care more about than anything else going on in your life. And I find just having that in your life is the one thing that kind of helps you clear your mind, get on back on track to what you actually want to do instead of sitting there focused on everyone else's opinions or whatever it keeps cycling through your mind. It just gets you off of that and back onto something that is productive.
I absolutely love that because I find when I don't have a passion project, like I'm a miserable manic mess. Like I swear it's like just don't want to leave my bed, like nothing really matters to me anymore. But at the same time, do you feel like that's what life is about, is your passions, or what do you think it is? Yeah? I
think it's about family and watching each other grow and passions. And caring about what other people also care about, I think is a big part of that too.
Yeah, giving out care. I love that. Yeah. So for you, what are your passions?
I have so many.
That's okay. That's not a bad thing.
I would say I've been chasing down music for the last couple of years now.
Nice.
So I've been playing for about 12 years.
Oh, cool. What instrument?
I play guitar and I sing.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, and I'm just dabbling in piano as well.
Oh, okay, so you just multi-talented, and you do carpentry. That's pretty cool. But so for you, what kind of music are you more drawn to, like country, R&B?
Everything but country.
Everything but country. So the first thing I said was completely wrong.
Yeah.
Hey, typical. That's fine.
Yeah, so I play. There's some rap I do on acoustic.
Nice.
I do some rock, some pop, some kind of a bit of everything.
Yeah, that's sick. That's super sick. Do you rap?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I also rap. I've got a few songs on Spotify.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, it's fun. It's definitely a fun thing to do. When I was doing rap though, I went into a zone of I just want to have fun and I'm going to write the most ridiculous songs because I don't care and this is me, take it or leave it. And the more and more I get deeper into my late 20s and getting to know who I am more, I'm more oh no, I think I'm more of an indie artist. I would definitely want to include rap in my future work, but I definitely I feel like I'm definitely shaping more towards indie. Do you find you're self-shaping into different genres a little bit more than others as you kind of grow into the art?
Yeah, as I get older, I find I'm going more towards rock and the more oldies rock.
I can hear it in your voice that you would have a really good rock voice.
Oh, thank you.
You got a good tone to there.
Thank you.
I don't know why I said the D at the end of tone, but it's there. But that's actually awesome, though. So besides music, what else do you get up to?
I play with some electronics. I have a Raspberry Pi where I hook it up with a bunch of...
Raspberry Pi?
Yeah.
What is that?
It's a little... it's a credit card sized computer.
Oh.
That you can hook on...
Who named it Raspberry Pi?
I don't know.
I would love to meet that person.
But yeah, you just hook up different inputs and outputs, and you can hook up sensors for temperature sensors, humidity sensors, so you can kind of build your own electric or electronic device. So what I'm working on right now is a weather sensor thingy.
Oh, cool.
I wish I knew the actual name for it right now, but
I couldn't help you.
Yeah.
Not at all. But that is so cool. So have you always been kind of into technology, or is it kind of thing that came out of your life?
Yeah, I moved to Windsor when I was younger, followed my girlfriend there, and to be honest, I just wish I didn't follow her back. But we lived with a bunch of nerds, I guess.
Yeah, let's call them nerds. Let's call them out.
So, yeah, these guys were doing projects all the time. So like I would just kind of sit in the corner and watch what they were doing and kind of learn from them. They were all computer science majors, and so I was just working full time at the time. And eventually I started on some of my own projects, and then going forward, became a programmer and got into doing a bunch of my own stuff.
That's so cool. So you learned from the nerds.
Yeah.
You weren't that person that was like, no, I'm going to go party now. You were like, I'm going to learn.
Oh, yeah.
That's really cool.
Hell yeah.
Have you always been like that? Like somebody likes to observe and like kind of take in information from people? So you're a people person.
Depends on the people, I guess.
It's okay to say you hate people. But yeah, no, I guess it would depend, because that's how I feel. People think I'm a very like extroverted, like bubbly person, and I guess I am, but I don't like people that much. I like my people and I like the people I converse with, but in terms of like, if I were to choose like my ideal Saturday night, it would be like staying at home with my cat and my fiance watching a movie, as opposed to like going to a party, or like going out to a bar. Also saves money. That's always a nice thing.
I feel that.
But are you more introverted or extroverted then?
I would say it depends on the stage in my life. There's been times where I've been more extroverted, and right now I'm definitely in a stage where I'm more introverted.
Yeah, I really like what you just brought up, because I feel like people tend to like pigeonhole themselves into boxes as soon as they find out that like they're an extrovert or introvert, or maybe a certain like personality type. Like I know there's like the ENGI or whatever those tests are, and like you get pigeonholed into it. But I feel like your identity and how you learn and how you interact with the world is quite fluid.
And I found specifically after some of the larger things that I had gone through, like I had done that personality test and had way different results. Like before and after going homeless, I was a way different person.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Same thing with when my girlfriend took off, lost my job, my dad passed away. Again, like my personality had changed so drastically that, I don't know, it's just I've been a very different person. So if you've met me in the past at all, you probably don't have any idea who I am right now.
Yeah, that's super fair. I feel like that as well, and I think that shows your resiliency, is that you're willing to change and you're willing to go through something and pull yourself back up and rebuild yourself, like you said that you're doing right now. So for you, like going through all of that, are you happy with the person that you've become, or are you still striving? That's a loaded question, so.
To be honest, I'm very happy with the person I've become.
That's incredible. That makes me so happy to hear. And so do you feel like that's because of your experiences, or do you feel like that's because of just who you are?
I think it's because of who I am. The experiences, they helped hone in that, but at the same time, I know who I am, and I'm really happy with who I am. That's yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. I do really want to say thank you again for sharing. Like I feel like there's a lot of vulnerability coming from you, and so I really, really appreciate that, because the more vulnerable you get, the more vulnerable I get, and it's it makes a great conversation. So I love that. So you were born in Sarnia too?
Yep.
Okay. So what school did you go to?
I went to London Road and Lansdowne for public school. In high school, I went to St. Clair.
Oh, nice. St. Clair and Mustangs, right? That's what you guys were?
The Colts.
The Colts. Why did I say Mustangs?
I don't know.
I don't know where that came from. It's the same thing. It's the trots. I don't know what noise that was. But so in high school, would you if you could go back to your younger self when you were in St. Clair and you could say one thing to your younger self, what would it be?
I don't even know that I would change or say anything. Because to be honest, going back to high school, what I really needed was a big brother. And without that, I don't think I would have gone down anywhere near the same path that I did. And I wouldn't be the same person as I am today. And I absolutely love who I am. So it's I really wouldn't want to change anything or say anything to him. Because it's yeah, buddy, stick through it, because it's going to get pretty good.
Aw, I love that. That's good advice.
Maybe that's all I would say, I guess. But yeah.
I feel like it'd be so weird to see your younger self. I just feel like my younger self was such a mess. She just was a loudmouth mess. And so it'd be very interesting just to watch and see what your younger self did, because I feel like we have rose-tinted glasses for how we see ourselves. Sometimes you don't, I guess. But it's just very interesting, because when I ask people those questions, a lot of people do want to intervene or give advice. So for you to say no, I don't want to, is really, really cool given your experience.
I mean, I don't know that people gave me advice and I didn't listen to it. Why would I listen to myself?
Yeah, that's actually really, really fair. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And so like you're one of the few people that I've talked to that has experienced homelessness and completely combated it. So I just want to know, like, what was that experience for you transitioning from, homelessness to not being so transient?
I'll let you know when I get there.
Hey, there you go. That's okay, honestly.
To be honest with you, it's almost like being homeless had put a black mark on my name. And there's still people that still see me differently. Yeah, even
absolutely.
Today. And to be honest with you, to me, all that says about that person is that they're small-minded.
Absolutely.
Because what really sucks is the homelessness wasn't because I was poor. It was due to a housing shortage.
Yeah.
My ex-girlfriend, what happened is she was going into chiropractic school, and she had gotten approved for school, but not approved for funding yet. So she went and posted on Facebook saying, I got approved for school, blah, blah, blah. My landlord commented saying, does this mean you're giving your 2 months notice? And she said yes.
That's
but then
a lot.
She didn't have her funding yet. So then all of a sudden we had 2 months to find a new place. She didn't get funding. We had to, we couldn't get a place in town. We looked everywhere, and then it got to a point where nobody would take us in. Nobody,
Yeah, it's a really hard world out there because people are still experiencing that. And I love what you said is it's not because I was poor. Because I feel like people see people in the streets and it's like, well, it's because you're not working hard enough. It's because you're not doing this. It's because you're addicted. It's because of this. There's so much shame around it when I think all of us are just one step away of being homeless.
It doesn't take a lot.
No, it doesn't. Not at all. Like, I know for me, like, I definitely probably could get a place and find an apartment. I'd be going bankrupt for it, for sure. The prices are ridiculous. But I live with my parents. And I often think to myself, if I didn't have that luxury, if I didn't have that privilege to live at home with my parents where I'm protected, I am safe, and I feel loved, I don't know what I would be doing right now. I don't even think I would be able to function and as highly as I am right now, because a basic need like a shelter above your head would be constantly at risk.
It's, to be honest, one of the most freeing feelings in a long time was I had to fill out a job application and they wanted to do a background check. And so I'm like, all right, no problem. Put your address in for the last 5 years. Yeah. And I put one address. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Just how amazing it feels just to know that I've had the stability for that long.
Absolutely.
And it sounds weird just because all it is just a background check, but just knowing that it's you've had stability for that length of time.
Absolutely. That was a beautiful sentiment, by the way. I really, really love what you said there, just because I think a lot of people take a lot of things for granted, and not in a bad way. I just think that we're not taught the ins and outs of what reality actually looks like kind of what we said earlier. Reality is a lot harsher than people like to admit or like to think about. And so for you to come through all of that and then still have this fantastic perspective is really impressive.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course, man. So if you were to give advice to any of the listeners and watchers happening right now when they're I don't even know what I'm trying to say, in the audience, I guess, what would you say to our listeners and watchers?
I would say the biggest thing is the guy that's down on his luck and having a hard time isn't as bad as you think he is. When people have a good job and have a roof over their head and have all their basics needs covered, their best qualities come out. And when they don't have those things, their worst qualities come out. They're not the same person. And I think everybody needs either a chance or a second chance, or as many chances as you're willing to give them, because the guy down on his luck is not as bad as you think he is.
Man, snaps for that. Snaps for that. I completely agree with you. I feel like your environment, your society, your culture really dictates who you get to be sometimes. And so I know I've been through a lot of toxic relationships, and whenever I am in those kind of states, I'm not a good person. Everyone deserves empathy. Everybody deserves compassion. Maybe you don't have to break your boundaries to do that. You could just, live with kindness.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Brandon. That's
no
really
problem.
Nice. Awesome. Any last word you want to say?
No.
Get a pizza Lunchable. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Yeah, thank you.
That was awesome.
Bye, everyone.